It's difficult to see and understand the perfection in everything when everything that you look at, your entire lens, your entire POV, is mired in difficulty, mired in separation, which is what the egoic mind state is, always. So if I go and say, hey man, look at everything, it's just so perfect. It's like, what perfection is there? When you're in this like dog eat dog kind of a world, guys, when everything is separate from itself, when you're in the physical and you have to eat and you have to compete and you have to, live in the wild, right? Like animal nature and stuff. Yeah. There's going to create tension and turmoil and stress and difficulties in the perception of those activities. That's only a natural conclusion to draw from it on the level of your mind. On the level of your mind. But thank the Lord, thank God, thank the universe of all that is, that we were also blessed with an intuition that can kind of check the mind. So in a lot of my videos, I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's perfect, this life. That your life, everything that happens to you in your life, all of these things that play out, all of these things in your life story, and everyone else's life story, and everything in between, right? All the animals, the birds, the oceans, the forests, all of this physical reality, it is all perfection. It is all governed by this animating genius force that is God. And that's too big for some people to wrap their minds around. So they're just like, you know what? It's easier for me to just buy into the physical. And you can find some truths that way, guys. That's what science is. You can science your life into a better outcome. And in some senses, being that way, being rational and logical is good. Learning to critically think is good. Okay? But what's happened today is that we've gone too far in that extreme of critically thinking and being super scientific, that we've even thrown away in the dumpster this idea of an intuition and a God. Because you see how religion is, how off religion is, and how stupid religion is at some levels. And then you say, oh, well, all of religion's stupid. All of those truths, those eternal truths that these religions are pointing to, they're all false. So then God's false. God doesn't exist. And you're drawing the wrong conclusions. So, what's perfect about this perfection? Because it's going to be hard to see it if you're not there. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to open yourself up, to merge, to feel fully, to be your most authentic self without the insecurity and the fear. It's hard to be that if you don't at least try to recognize the perfection of everything. How is suffering perfect? How is any traumatic event that I go through or that anyone else goes through in your own personal story, how is that perfect? And this is where you get into duality. This is where you get into duality, okay? There's suffering, and then there's the freedom of suffering. And then there's good and bad, right? Just polar opposites. That's how the mind works. Duality, right? Okay. So I'm going to label an experience good. This is a good experience. It's the highest good. Oh, it's a super good experience. It's amazing. I went to the carnival. I went to to see the movie. Oh, it was amazing. Great experience, right? Okay. To someone else, that same experience wasn't so amazing. So who's right? Right? That person labels that experience as bad. You label that experience as good. Who's right? Well, they're both right. It's your own perception. It's based on your own internal POV, what you align with, what you don't align with. It's okay for us to have our likes and our dislikes. The trouble is that you get suffering out of an attachment to your likes and your dislikes, because you think your own likes and dislikes and your own internal state of being supersedes the reality itself. How you feel in any given moment is more important than the reality itself that God is playing out for you in every moment. And so there is an element of pride and arrogance there, that you think your own internal disposition is more important than what's playing out externally. And on some level, yes, that's true, because you claim your power when you've aligned your own internal disposition with the external and the internal, and it all flows effortlessly and reflects back and forth, as above, so below kind of stuff, right? Okay. So I'm going to label something bad. Oh no, that's bad. Oh, it's just bad. Oh my God, he died. That's bad. Oh, she got sick. That's bad. Right? And if you only look at it that way, objectively, in one specific case scenario, yeah, you can say it's bad. Oh my God, he died. It's bad. Oh my God, all this pain and grieving that everybody went through, that's bad. But if you look at it holistically, if you take your head out of the sand, if you tap into the intuition, if you understand the grand scheme of your spiritual, soulful evolution, if you understand these things, even at a base level, then you're going to fundamentally also understand that these experiences are needed. How can you know what's good if you don't experience the bad? And how can you know the bad if you don't experience the good? These are fundamental, needed necessities in life, right? How can I appreciate going through an amazing time in my life if I haven't experienced utter shit? Where is the appreciation for this bliss if I haven't experienced the suffering that is free from that bliss? And that's the thing, is that how normal people, the average person, experiences the blissful and suffering states, these are snapshots, right? You don't stay in this blissed out state. How could you? You're too bought into this physical reality. So when that changes, now it's dictating to you how you feel and how you see. So there's no perfection there for you. It's always changing. It's always scary. It's always, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I always know what's going to happen. I do. The next moment's going to play out. That's what I know. The next moment and whatever God brings into my reality is going to play out perfectly. Even if on some level someone else comes along and says, oh, the imperfection of this, how silly. No. It is all needed. It is all needed. There is a balance in these polarities, guys. There's a balance in this physical duality, mind-based reality that we've tied ourselves to. There's a physical representation in everything, and it mirrors in our mind, and then we let that come into us and overtake us. So when are you going to be free of that cycle? Because it is a cycle. It's a cycle of suffering. Buddhism, cycle of suffering, very simple. Very simple. When you recognize that literally everything that you're misaligned with is suffering itself, then you also recognize that that suffering is needed to get you to realize the suffering that gets you out of the suffering. It's the flip side of the coin, man. You can't have freedom without suffering. When we're dead, or before we incarnate, when we're up there, there's no suffering there, guys. Do you get that? You have to incarnate to experience the suffering, to then, in the physical, realize the non-suffering state of freedom and nirvana, right? So that whole play, that whole grand theater of life, suffering, non-suffering, bliss, right? It's all perfect. It's all amazing. It's all the same aspect of God in a physical. That's all it is. It's the same. It's all the same. Your suffering leads to your salvation. It's like, because it's playing out linearly in time, you take snapshots of your life in a certain time period. And then you're like, this part was bad and this part was good. No, it's all good and it's all bad. Because everything is one. There's no time. So it's like your bad experience is like layered on top of your good experience, and your good experience is layered on top of your bad experience, happening simultaneously. But you just can't perceive that on the level of your mind ever. So God is in the past, in the present, in the future, always. It's all playing out simultaneously to him. It just is. Boof, 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 just explosions of isness everywhere. And it's not even localized to one place. It's just all one massive explosion of isness. And there's a perfection in that. You have to experience the separation to understand the wholeness. Do you see? At least on our physical, mental, mind levels. And that's why it's easier to just let go of the mind. The mind can be very cunning, it can be very witty, come off as intelligent and smart because it knows a lot of things, but it is never intuitive and it is never truly fundamentally intelligent ever. There's no intelligence in the mind itself, right? Your creativity, what comes off as intelligent to someone else, what comes off as this amazing spark, right? That is your intuition using the mind. But now that the mind is using everyone else, everyone just bounces back and forth with the polarities of duality, and they talk and they think that they're saying something. And as Plato once said, a wise person speaks because, or no, a fool speaks because they feel that they have something to say, or something like that, right? A wise person speaks because they have to say, what is the say? I can't remember. But it's basically like your urge to say something, to comment, commentary. You come in my comment section, you leave like comments, right? You're mentally masturbating all over my comment section, and you think you're super witty and funny with like whatever comments, or you think you're judged, or you think you're like so smart. You come in and you leave these things, how silly you are, Darius, that you think these things, right? And you don't understand that you are showing the very insecurity that you're making fun of in your comment. That is the egoic mind that just needs to be acted out through you by leaving a comment. It's just so desperate, the need to like leave your opinion, to have a little mental debate. And then maybe you want to get me engaged in it, and then I come in and we just argue back and forth. Just because there's a slightly lower level of consciousness there that you just don't see what I'm talking about, because if you did, there would be no arguing with it. And it's not to say that anything that I ever say can't ever be argued with. It's not the point. The point is that there's a central theme, there's a central message, there's a central truth that is underlying most of the stuff that's coming out of my mouth. And before you rush to judgment and rush to like a quick assumption, listen to the holistic ideology, the holistic message, to see what I'm pointing to. Because it's never going to be compartmentalized in any specific message. You take one like thing out of context and now, oh, Darius is made to look like a fool. There's no fool. Even in my foolishness, I'm not a fool. Don't you guys get that about yourselves? Even in your foolishness, even in your suffering, that you're not the fool, that you're not the sufferer. It is just a temporary experience. So yeah, it is all perfect because it is designed this way. The design is built into the reality itself, the laws that govern everything, the physical laws, the scientific laws, the energetic laws, right? All these like modern woo-woo laws, law of attraction, law of assumption, law of whatever, all of these things that you think are laws, they are built into the reality itself, this physical reality. So there is that perfection in that, the isness of how that operates, the cause and effect of that reality. And what happens is your mind comes in and starts labeling it a bunch of different ways based on what it thinks it knows, based on what it's learned along the way, based on its own experiences from the past. So you're viewing this current moment all the time through a past lens that is always imperfect. There's always an imperfection in the mental lens because it is past. Projections, assumptions, expectations. They're never it. They never can be. So when you let go of all of this mind stuff, when it recedes into itself, when you root yourself in yourself, and you are just the awareness that observes, then now the mind can come back in and be used more potently, more effectively, more efficiently, more powerfully. And that's true perfection, the alignment of the mind with the spirit that manifests. That's the miracle. And just life playing out, life being sustained, life being created, life being destroyed is the perfection and the miracle too. But we take it for granted because we're so enmeshed and bought into it. We can't see it, the awe and the wonder, right? When you're a kid, you learn Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right? Sing it with me. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Right? Okay. What is the purpose of that song? Right? You tapping into this inner child as an adult. It's meant for you to look up there and wonder with awe how awe-inspiring this reality is. That a little kid that doesn't know all these mind layers that you learn along the way. Oh, I'm a physicist. I'm an astrophysicist. I know what the star is, Darius. You take the element of wonder and awe a little bit out of it when you think you know on the level of your mind how all these things work, right? Well, the little kid that sings that song, right? And you're like, oh, I wonder what the star is. I wonder, like, what? Oh, and it's just like, it opens up a part of you. Your heart opens through it. Whether you guys realize it or not. I know it sounds hokey, sounds cringy, sure. There's no awe. There's no awesomeness. There's no perfection. There's no miracle for your average person, blinded by fear and insecurity and illusory physical attachment. There's no. It's very cynical, it's very sarcastic, it's very arrogant, it's very aggressive in its thinking that it knows so much better than whatever, better than God. You think you know better than God. You think your little snapshot, your little fragment, your little slice of the pie mind knows better than God. That's the arrogance. You think you know, but you don't know. So you label a bunch of different ways. You're going to create this whole long, like 50-page story of what this reality is, and you're missing the entire point. You can't see the forest through the trees because you're making all these assumptions in your mind. You're making all these conclusions in your mind about the nature of reality. Something like, I think, therefore I am. How about I am, therefore I am? How about you don't need to think to be? How about that? Common sense, when you look at it that way. It is the perceiver of the thinking mind that is the isness, of the amness, of the beingness of the human being. You don't need to think. Like, that's what the story of the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve is, guys. At one time, mankind was without a thinking mind, a critically thinking mind, a knowing, knowledge-based mind. Just like an animal out in the wilderness. And that is our truest nature. But now we're evolving, right? So the truest nature is also with a mind. But there's an imbalance there that does not see the perfection in everything. How can it, when it's only looking at one little focal point all the time? How can you see the grand perfection when all you're looking through is one little spotlight? It's paradoxical, right? It's contradictory, right? I'm going to look at one pinpoint. That's all you are. Your mind is one little focal point, one little POV, one opinion, one anything in the vastness of all that is. So you're automatically segmenting yourself by looking at your stuff through your mind. And you think you're going to come in with these like super intelligent, like assumptions and conclusions that are not holistic in any way. They don't have the full spectrum of what's going on, the intuitive, fundamental, intuitive, spiritual understanding, right? And that's the catch, is that to express your intuition, you need the mind in this physical reality with language and words and story and mythology and whatever. So there's the catch-22. You're in your mind, but you're also not in your mind. You need the mind to express, but you really don't need to express. You can just be. That's why they take vows of silence in the monasteries and shit. Because they realize that the silence is golden. That the perfection of everything outside of talking and stuff just doing and being and just stillness, that platform energy is what's animating everything. And so when you're still internally, then you're aligned with that external. Even if there's waves crashing and thunderstorms and this and that, the background behind all of the happenings is the peace and the stillness out of which it arises. The nothingness holds the somethingness. But even that's a duality. So even that expression is a duality, which is illusory. It's like you need the somethingness to explain the nothingness, and you need the nothingness to explain the somethingness. But they're both at their root fundamentally incorrect using words and like mental associations. It's just too big. So the quicker you become comfortable with letting go of your mind and rooting it in itself and looking at your own life through your own internal awareness, that then the mind can come back in when it's needed, the quicker you're going to see the perfection in everything. It's going to become very apparent to you. You're going to be like, wow, yeah, I get what he means, that this stuff is needed, that the suffering is needed, that the bad is needed, so that you can understand the good, and that it's all holy, even the suffering and even the bad, what you casually label as good or bad, arbitrarily label as good or bad. It's like, well, Darius, these things are bad, right? They're sins, right? The 10 Commandments, lying's bad, right, Darius? Bad, sinning, bad, right? Killing's bad, right? It depends on what POV you decide to use and how you need to use it. Most use cases, yeah, killing's bad. But there are times where maybe killing is needed. It's just a play of form, man. It's just a play of form. And the intentionality with which you do the act is what counts more than the act itself, right? Somebody comes to attack you, you kill them to protect yourself. Who's in the right, who's in the wrong? War. With war, right? Because it's like we're trying to ascend to a place where war is not needed anymore, conflict isn't needed as much. But as long as we're incarnated in this physical, it's very likely that there's always going to be an element of conflict and war. It is the nature of humanity, right? It's like the Native Americans, they were very spiritual in their existence. They understood stuff, man. But they still warred with each other, these tribes. Not to say that they were like some peak enlightened, tribe or village or civilization, whatever you want to call it. But it's like how they lived was very close. But even within how they lived, they still murdered. They still killed. They still did what we would label as nasty shit. These things come in because the physical makes them so. Because the physical and this 3D illusion gets you caught up in it and you can lose yourself to it. So yeah, if you want to go the right way, yeah, the peaceful resistance, like I'm not going to react and I'm just going to let things be and happen and perfectly, it's all perfect. You can do that. But you also choosing to enact a resistant place, you choosing to enact, I don't like this, I don't want it to happen this way, and I have influence. There is also power in that too, and a correctness too, because you do have the free will and the choice to do. That's why you're here. Or else you just sit and do nothing all day, right? You're supposed to do something, right? But we're so lost in doing that we think we're now in that extreme of doing, and so we don't know what the stillness is. We've lost that aspect of ourselves. So I don't know. Spiritual warfare. The light versus the dark. The angels versus the demons. It's like all these plays of archetypes and archetypes and mythologies and layers of consciousness expressing themselves with words and stories. And they're all true and they're all not true. And it's all perfect. It's all perfect in just how untrue and true it is at the same time. So fucking paradoxical. It's almost annoying to keep talking about it. Excuse me. That that you're suffering, that the craziest, most nasty experiences that you go through is not only needed, but also perfect. No one, you know how hard that is for people to wrap their minds around? You know how hard that is? That's like one of the last things you realize. It's one of the last things that you let go of. So then when you can stay here in this moment and then look at your past objectively and see how the events played out and all of the different bad stuff that happened to you in your story, all of the traumatic events that may have shaped you, you look at them and you're thankful for them. How insane is it to be thankful to have been molested or raped as a kid or even as an adult? Or to go through mental illness, to go through a serious physical illness, to go through losing a parent or a brother when you're young, like all these different traumatic events, right? To be imprisoned, to be whatever, homeless, these traumas, these very, very difficult life situations. How can you look back at that and say, oh my God, it's so perfect? Because you realize that it brought you here, it brought you into yourself. It played out a certain way to teach you. It's always teaching you. It's always experiencing itself, this God through you. It's learning. It's like, what would it be like to experience trauma in Darius's life as that one POV? And then to go through that and then to ascend through it. Or to go through it and then to not ascend through it and then to succumb to it. Because there's a polarity in the final destination, isn't there? You come out of it or you don't come out of it. You come out of it and then you're no longer trapped by it, or you succumb to it and you're just like in hell your whole life. That's what 99% of people are, in hell their whole lives. Even if you think you're living your best life, your life is so amazing, everything looks amazing. If you don't understand these fundamental truths, you're in some level of suffering in hell for yourself. And it can be a mental hell, it can be a physical hell, it can be just a little anxiety always in the background, a little something's off. The constant need to judge, the constant need to interject, the constant need to share your opinion, all these things, these are forms of suffering. It is your little ego, your little mind wanting to make itself known because it thinks it's so important. And that self-importance through the mind is what gets you into trouble. It's okay. There's a difference between sharing and expressing and always needing to butt your fucking opinion in, not knowing when to be still, not knowing when to be silent. There's a perfection in understanding the ebbs and the flows and the balance to how to communicate, right? How many people out there have a trouble talking to people? Their mind's always spinning while they're talking, and they're waiting to interject their next thought. They're already pre-planning what they're going to think and then say that thing. They're not even listening truly to the person that's speaking because they're so busy in their own minds projecting and interpreting everything coming out of their mouths and then trying to get the one up, the one up, the one up. I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. So witty, so cunning, so stupid. Back and forth mental masturbation. That's all it is. And you don't see it. So someone saying that your wit, someone saying that you're cunning, someone saying that your mental intelligence is stupid, they sound like an idiot to you. They don't know any better because you're just so much smarter than them. How could they know? And then you're going to say that what I'm saying, I'm trying to come off as super smart, that I know more than it's not, it's no. It's actually the opposite. It's because I know, like Socrates, I know that I don't know. That when I see that you think you know how you think you know, that you don't know the spark of wisdom. Very simple shit. I'm always aligned with the not knowing. I'm always aligned with that awe. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. I'm always aligned with that shit. I look at life through that no lens, man. And that's where the magnificence and the perfection is. And so if it's always through this little spotlight of the mind, yeah, it can't help but be segmented and separate and dual and good and bad and good and bad. So it's like, yeah, sure, some good, temporarily some good, but most often it's coming. It's right around the corner, the bad. And then when it comes, oh, it fucks you up because you don't see how illusory it is. You just label it as bad. Well, what's bad? What is bad? What is, like, we have these labels. What is normal? What is bad? What is good? What's normal? What is normal? Oh, it's just common. Oh, okay, well, what is common? Well, statistically, like, right? The median, the average, okay, sure. You can apply statistics to your models. Absolutely. You can look at your life through that lens, your whole life. Be the super analytical, statistic-based person analyzing probabilities in every single moment. And you're limiting yourself through it. You're limiting yourself through it. It's okay to use that occasionally when needed, but it is not dominating every aspect of yourself, and you're not caught in thought, thinking on a mental loop in your head constantly, dominating every aspect of your life, not being able to even quiet your mind, that you can't fall asleep at night because it's just on all the time, that you're always stressed out and like back and forth in your mind. That's the natural extreme that comes in with this over-analytical mind. So you think you know. You laugh, like, oh, yeah, this guy thinks there's an intuition, this guy thinks there's a God. Oh, how silly. He thinks he's so enlightened. Oh, you don't get it. I'm nothing. All of that shit's bullshit. All of those labels are bullshit. I don't think I'm anything. I know I'm nothing. I love it. Love that about yourself. Love how utter crappy nothing like you are, that it is also the awesomeness and the perfection personified in a human being that you are.